The Fever have folks fired up, and that includes their own team. It includes their biggest star in Caitlin Clark. Clark was responding to a video that the Fever posted of Aliyah Boston getting some offseason work in and wrote this in the comment section, got me fired up, to which Boston replied, as you should be. And you can see that chemistry extends off the floor. Those two have become friends as well as a dynamic duo on the court. They flourished in Clark's rookie season, which was Boston's second in the WNBA. But the Fever organization has taken the offseason extremely seriously. They overhauled the entire front office, new president, GM. They bring in a new coach in Stephanie White. They're sharing content with the fans. They're getting these offseason workouts in. We've already seen Clark in the lab with White. Now we see that the team traveled, the staff traveled to work out with Aliyah Boston back where she went to school at the Worcester Academy, where she just had her jersey retired, the first player ever to have a jersey retired at the school. The GM was there for that. So trying to bond with the players as well. They're bonding with each other and only increasing that anticipation. I mean, it's a long offseason in the WNBA, but the upside is that they can get even better by adding free agents, of course, by adding in the draft, and by continuing to put in the work. And it looks like their star players are doing that. I mean, we've seen Clark look like she's bulked up a little bit and working on her bag, the rest of her game, while Aliyah Boston looks like she's in great shape and getting the work in as well. And it looks like, the Fever are going to put in work against any opponent they face this upcoming WNBA season. Let's take a look at the video that the Fever actually shared of AB getting said work in, working on, various aspects of her game. Like I said, I think she looks to be in really good condition. Last year, I didn't think she was in the best of shape to begin this season. It looks like Keith Porter, the new player development coach, is there. Some spin move there. Working on the strength and the finish, up and under move. Aliyah's footwork is good. I want to see her continue to extend that range on the jump shot. A lot of this stuff is things we've seen her do before, but it's working on the timing and working on the finishing too, to make sure that you get it down every single time. Explosive bursts. I think she can go up faster, stronger. Those are things I want to see AB do. Again, the jump shot I think is very important to continue to extend that range and just get super consistent from the mid-range, because you see CeCe will get into the lane and dump it off to her. You want it to be automatic once she catches. And then I think she should look to become a viable three-point option as her career extends, and as soon as next year as well. That only makes the Fever offense more dangerous. So, I mean, nothing dynamic or revelatory there that you haven't seen players work on before, but nonetheless, working on her game where they traveled to her, which again shows that commitment that the Fever organization has right now. And, getting the responses. Lexi Hull was in the comments section as well. That core group of players seems to have a real bond. So it's a long way away from May when they get back in action. You see the schedule drop. It's like, oh, the Fever schedule. And you see the ticket sales. Oh, the Fever tickets. And you see basically anything. People are starving for that content. Remember when that Caitlin Clark workout video dropped and all the views went sky high right away? But they're taking it seriously, from the management to the players. And then we know some of them are getting their skills continue to be refined in China, playing and balling overseas at this juncture as well, most notably Kelsey Mitchell. But Fever are going to be a problem next season if they can add to that roster at all. That's on the front office. That's the next challenge. How do they handle free agency? What do they do to bolster around that core? Because the core is set, right? Like that's the benefit that they're working with. That's the upshot for Kelly Cross-Cup and Amber Cox, is that they are starting with a foundation, and that's generally the hardest thing there is for a team to get. That's why you hear about tanking in professional basketball, so that a team can land the first pick in the draft. So the Fever had the first pick in the draft 2 years ago, and they got Aliyah Boston. Then they had the first pick in the draft last year, and obviously they got Caitlin Clark. They already had Kelsey Mitchell, who is a free agent, but they've maintained as their number one priority, and they can core. They developed Lexi Hull to a certain extent last year, and I think you'll see them continue to look to develop her and what she can bring aside from just energy, defense, and open 3-point shooting. But mainly when you're starting with CC and AB, and you're adding in Kelsey, and then you have a reliable player in Hull on top of that. The rest is, I don't want to say gravy because you need the rest, and you can eat the turkey without the gravy, but the rest is easier. It's complementary. It's supplementary. It's finding pieces that fit. It's filling holes. So the more shooting that they can get, the better because of Clark's ability to break down the defense, see the floor. Because AB will have the ball and she can pass the ball back out because that will just open up space for Clark and AB to operate. I think physicality and toughness with size is something they lacked a little bit. Athleticism in that regard. So if they can add a some grit and toughness, some pop on the wing, I think that could really help the team as well. But these are things that they have the resources to do in free agency. They have a draft pick as well to help add to that depth. I think that was the key word Boston said when she was discussing it around the exit meeting time. But in the meantime, you just get reminded, oh yeah, this is what they do have, right? And remember when, first of all, I was a little concerned with Boston's play at the beginning of the season, and she just got progressively better as the year went on. But regardless, it always felt like Clark and Boston would be a seamless fit, and we saw that as the season went along. And they have that camaraderie as part of it too, which you can't teach. And I think the most notable thing to note about Clark and AB is basketball IQ. That is either you have that or you don't. It's innate. And Clark is a basketball genius. She sees the floor as well as any player, man or woman, I've ever seen. And Boston is also a brilliant basketball player and brilliant basketball mind. She understands positioning. She understands how to screen, where to move, how to pass the ball out of the block. All these reads she can make from her spots on the floor. So it's like it's having two players who can do that, and they complement each other because obviously they're at different positions and in different spaces. So we'll see what other steps they can take. But remember, Stephanie White said they could be the best, I think, post guard duo in the history of the game. She didn't even say the WNBA, in the history of the game. And it looks like the Fever and those individuals, Boston and CC, are putting in work to make sure that can actually be the case.